The day before my wedding, I opened the door to my fiancé's apartment and found him in bed with my sister. I didn't scream, I didn't collapse, I didn't even cry, I just froze. It felt like someone had ripped the entire world out from under my feet. What shocked me most wasn't the sight of them together. It was their faces. Neither of them looked surprised, not guilty, not even nervous, just annoyed, like I walked in at the wrong time. And in that moment, one question tore through my mind. How long had this been happening? My name is Mia. I'm 26, a nurse, and until 24 hours before my wedding I believed I had a perfect life, a stable job, a sweet, dependable fiancé named Daniel, a sister I trusted with everything, even pieces of my heart. Emma and I were close growing up, or at least I thought we were. Emma was the golden child, beautiful, bold, the kind who walked into a room and stole attention without trying. I was the quieter one, the supportive one, the one who fixed her problems while she created new ones. Everyone said she had sparkle, and I had stability. I didn't mind, I loved her, I protected her, I covered for her mistakes more times than I can count. Never in my darkest nightmares did I imagine she'd steal my future. Daniel and I met at the hospital. He worked in tech administration and I worked night shifts. He was gentle, thoughtful, soft-spoken, the kind of man you look at and think, he'll never hurt me. The kind you imagine building a safe, quiet life with, and for a long time that felt true. But the signs were there. Emma suddenly visiting his apartment to help him plan surprises for me. Daniel laughing a little too much at her jokes. Emma wearing tighter clothes around him. Daniel complimenting her hair. Emma telling me I was lucky because men like Daniel don't stay single long. I didn't see it then, but I see it now. That morning I wasn't even supposed to go to Daniel's place. We agreed on staying apart before the wedding for tradition, but there was a last-minute issue with the florist and I wanted to check something with him, so I stopped by. No warning, no call. The first red flag was the unlocked door. Daniel never left it unlocked. Then I walked down the hallway and saw clothes scattered across the floor. Women's clothes, not mine. A sick feeling crawled up my spine, and then I heard Emma's laugh coming from his bedroom. I pushed the door open. Emma didn't scramble for a blanket, Daniel didn't jump up. They just stared at me like I'd walked in on them folding laundry. Emma was lounging against his pillows. Daniel was half-dressed. The first thing he said wasn't an apology. It wasn't an excuse, it wasn't even fear. You weren't supposed to be here. Not sorry. Not a mistake. Just irritation. I stared at them, my mind spinning. How long? My voice felt like someone else. Emma exchanged a look with him, one that told me this moment had been discussed, prepared for, expected. She sighed. Mia, this isn't how we wanted you to find out. Find out. Find out. Daniel put his shirt on like this was a casual conversation. We weren't cheating, we were confused. Confused. I almost laughed. A hollow, broken sound slipped out of me. How long? I asked again. Silence. Then Daniel finally said, 8 months. 8 months. While we were planning our wedding, he was sleeping with my sister. While I was choosing dresses, he was choosing her. While I was imagining our future, he was betraying me in the worst way possible. Emma folded her arms. Mia, don't act like the victim. You and Daniel weren't even passionate anymore. Daniel nodded, agreeing with her. We care about you, but Emma and I connect in ways we never connected with you. My vision blurred. Every insecurity I'd ever had flooded back, quiet, boring, stable Mia. Emma kept going, she actually kept going. Honestly, we were going to tell you after the wedding. Let you enjoy your day first. Enjoy my day, I whispered. Are you insane? She sighed dramatically. You're so sensitive, that's why we kept it quiet. You always overreact. Overreact? I felt something burning inside me. Anger, grief, humiliation, all tangled together. Daniel stepped toward me like he wanted to comfort me. I stepped back. He frowned. We didn't want to hurt you, but you're too safe, too predictable. We wanted something real. Emma smirked. You live life in straight lines. Daniel and I want passion. A tear finally slipped down my cheek. One tear. And Emma saw it and smiled, not kindly, not sadly, but like she'd won something. Like this was a competition, and she was claiming her prize. I realized then. This wasn't an affair. It was a plan. A plan they built slowly, secretly, confidently. A plan they thought I was too stupid to see. Daniel exhaled. We want you to cancel the wedding quietly. It'll be less embarrassing for everyone. Less embarrassing for them. My heart felt like it was collapsing into itself. Then Emma said the words that finished me. Actually, it's good you came today, because I think I might be pregnant. The world tilted, my legs nearly gave out. Pregnant? With my fiancé? The day before my wedding? I stared at her, at them, at everything I thought I knew burning down around me. And Emma whispered, "You always said I take everything from you, Mia. Maybe this time it's for the best." Something inside me snapped, not with rage but with clarity. They weren't just betraying me. They were erasing me. Not this time. Not ever again. I didn't scream, I didn't break down. I didn't beg them to stop. I didn't ask why. I just looked at the two people who destroyed me and finally understood something simple. If I didn't save myself now, no one ever would. I turned around and walked out of Daniel's apartment without another word. Behind me, I heard Emma scoff like I was being dramatic. I heard Daniel call my name once, half-hearted, annoyed more than concerned. But I didn't stop. My chest felt tight, like I was drowning and breathing at the same time. My vision kept blurring, but I kept walking. Down the hallway. Down the stairs. Out the building. Into the cold air that hit my face like a slap. For the first time, the silence didn't hurt. It healed. I got into my car, closed the door and let myself breathe. Just breathe. Then my phone buzzed non-stop. First Daniel. Then Emma. Then Mom. I didn't pick up. I drove straight home, my hands shaking the whole way. The closer I got to the house, the heavier the weight in my chest became. Mom and Dad were inside. Relatives were arriving. Wedding decorations filled the living room. My dress was hanging in my bedroom, waiting for me. I walked inside. Mom looked up from arranging flowers. "Mia, sweetheart, you're back early." I broke. Not into tears. Into truth. "Mom, the wedding is off." Everything froze, the room, the air, my mother's smile. Her face went pale. "What do you mean it's off? Mia, what happened?" I opened my mouth but nothing came out. Not words. Not sound. Just pain. Dad stood up slowly. "Mia, talk to us." I swallowed. I found Daniel with Emma. The vase in Mom's hands slipped and shattered on the floor. For a moment no one breathed. Then Mom whispered no. A broken, trembling no. But I nodded. Dad sat down heavily, looking 10 years older in 1 second. Mom pressed her hand to her mouth and sobbed, not for me, but for the betrayal she couldn't comprehend. "How could she?" Mom whispered. "She's your sister, your own sister." I didn't have an answer. Relatives heard the noise and came rushing in, but Mom stopped them. "Everyone, please just go home." No one argued. No one asked. They just left quietly, sensing something sacred had shattered in our house. When the door finally closed behind the last person, Mom grabbed her keys. "I'm going to Emma." Dad put his hand on her arm. "Let Mia speak first." I shook my head quickly. "No, don't go to them. Not today. Not ever." My voice cracked. "They don't deserve any of us." Mom collapsed into my arms, sobbing into my shoulder. I held her because if I let go, I would fall apart completely. Dad stood with his fists clenched, staring at the wall, his jaw trembling, the way it did only when he was trying his hardest not to cry. My parents loved Emma, but they loved me more. And they knew I didn't lie. When Mom finally calmed enough to speak, she whispered, "What do you want to do?" For the first time in hours, I knew the answer. I want everything cancelled. Everything. The venue. The catering. The guests. All of it. Dad nodded firmly. I'll handle it. And my dress, I said quietly. I don't want it here anymore. Mom disappeared into my room without hesitating and took the dress down from its hanger. She held it like it was something fragile and cursed. Should I return it or donate it, I said. I don't want it back, ever. Mom kissed my forehead. Okays. We spent the next 4 hours cancelling everything. Every vendor. Every reservation. Every arrangement. Human voices on the phone kept asking, "Are you sure the wedding is tomorrow?" And every time, Dad simply said, "Yes, it's over." When it was all done, I expected to feel empty. But instead, the smallest spark of strength flickered inside me. For the first time in my life, I wasn't being overshadowed by Emma. I wasn't being patient, or quiet, or forgiving. I was ending something that hurt me before it could ruin my entire life. That night, the messages from Daniel shifted. At first, they were annoyed. "Mia, you're overreacting. We didn't want you to find out that way. We should talk before making decisions." Then they became desperate. "Mia, please answer me. I made a mistake. Let's talk." And then pathetic. "It didn't mean anything. She seduced me. Please don't do this." I didn't respond. Then Emma's messages started. Long paragraphs. Excuses. Denials. Justifications. Victim playing. "You don't understand what it's like to be me. You judge everything I do. I didn't want it to happen, it just did. You made Daniel unhappy first. I didn't do anything wrong. Then the final bomb. If you hate me after this, then I guess you were never a real sister." I blocked her. The next morning, what should have been my wedding day, I woke up not to joy, but to the sound of screaming outside. "Emma." She was in the driveway, crying, screaming my name, pounding on the door. Mom closed the blinds. Dad locked the door. I stood in the hallway, staring at the floor as her voice cracked again and again. "Mia, please open the door. Please let me explain. I need you, I need my sister." Dad's voice was ice cold. "Don't go near that door." And I didn't. Because her tears didn't wash away the knife she put in my back. Eventually, she left. Hours later, Daniel tried. He texted Mom, Dad, my aunt, even my workplace. Desperation dripped through every message. But I didn't answer. I couldn't go back to the girl who always forgave. Not after this. Instead, I went to the venue, the place where I was supposed to walk down the aisle. The staff recognized me immediately. One woman looked at me with soft, understanding eyes. "I'm so sorry," she whispered. Another offered me water. Another hugged me. I didn't cry. Not until I walked into the empty hall. The white chairs were still set up. The arch was decorated. The aisle runner was rolled out. Rose petals were scattered across the floor. This was supposed to be the happiest day of my life. Instead, it was the day I buried the version of me who tolerated everything. I walked all the way to the front, to the place where Daniel should have been standing, where I would have promised forever to a man who never truly loved me. I took a deep breath and let it out slowly. I walked back out of that hall with my head higher than it had ever been. When I got home, there was a message waiting on my phone from a number I didn't recognize. "Mia, I think you should know something. It's about Emma and Daniel." I stared at the screen, heartbeat quickening. Another message came instantly. "They've been doing this to women for years. And you're not their first victim." My blood went cold. I read it again. Not their first victim. Not their first. I typed back with trembling fingers. What do you mean? The sender replied. I'm his ex. My stomach twisted. And I think you deserve the full truth. I sat down. My hands shaking. My breath unsteady. Whatever I thought I knew about their betrayal was only the beginning. I stared at the message, my fingers frozen above the screen. His ex. I didn't even know Daniel had an ex serious enough to still have his number. Or maybe I did. Maybe he just never told me the truth. My heart hammered against my ribs as I typed back. What do you need to tell me? The reply came instantly, like she had been waiting for me. I know you're hurting. I went through the same thing, Daniel and Emma, they've done this before. My breath hitched. I read the sentence over and over, feeling a cold, sharp fear spread through my stomach. Before I could reply, another message appeared. He cheated on me with your sister too. My entire body stiffened. No, that couldn't be right. Emma had never mentioned anything. Daniel never brought it up. Even in all their twisted confessions yesterday, they never said this. But somehow it made perfect rotten sense. My fingers trembled violently as I typed. When's house? A few seconds passed. With me it lasted 2 months. She took him from me the same way, manipulated him, flirted with him, made him feel like he was missing out on something. A sour taste filled my mouth. She continued, and when I confronted Emma back then, she told me the exact same words she told you. My lungs tightened. I didn't do anything wrong. You're just insecure. You're overly sensitive. You don't understand what it's like to be me. My knees almost buckled. It was like reading my own conversations. The final message broke me completely. And when Daniel left me for your sister, she got bored of him in a few months. She moved on. He didn't. I pressed a hand over my chest, feeling my heartbeat pounding like it was trying to escape. Emma. Always Emma. Always stealing. Always taking. Always breaking things she never planned to keep. I finally gathered enough breath to reply. Why are you telling me this now? Her answer came after a short pause. Because I saw your wedding post, and then I saw it disappear. I knew what happened, I know how they work, and I know exactly what you're feeling. My eyes burned. I don't want revenge, she wrote. But I want you to know you're not alone. You didn't deserve any of this, and this isn't your fault. I sank onto the edge of my bed, clutching my phone like it was an anchor keeping me from falling apart. Not my fault. Not my mistake. Not my weakness. A soft knock came at my door. Mom peeked in gently. Mia's honey. She stepped inside, her eyes red and tired. I made you some soup, she whispered. You should eat something. I nodded but didn't move. She sat beside me and brushed a strand of hair behind my ear the way she used to when I was a child. You know, she said softly, Emma called me again. My stomach twisted. I didn't answer, Mom continued, because I don't know what I would say. I don't know who she is right now. I don't know who raised her into this. Her voice broke. But I know who you are, Mia. You are kind, patient, loyal, and none of this is because of you. Tears finally spilled out of me. Hot, angry tears. Mom pulled me into her arms, holding me tight while I broke silently into her shoulder. After a long moment I whispered, why does she always want what I have? Mom's voice trembled, because she's never been whole on her own. I closed my eyes, letting her words settle in my mind like stones dropping into water. Later that afternoon my phone rang again. This time it was Dad. Mia, your sister is here. I froze. Mom's eyes widened. She's outside, Dad continued. She's begging to speak with you. I don't know what you want me to do. A cold, heavy calm washed over me. I stood up, wiped my face, and walked to the living room window. There she was, Emma, sitting on the front steps, knees drawn to her chest, crying like she was the victim. For a moment, I felt something like nostalgia. Memories of us as kids, whispering secrets under blankets, braiding each other's hair, sharing everything. But then the image from yesterday hit me again. Her smirk, her victory, her words. You always said I take everything from you, Mia. Maybe this time it's for the best. Whatever love I had left for her died. I don't want to talk to her, I said quietly. Dad nodded. I'll take care of it. He went outside. I watched through the window as Emma stood up quickly, reaching for him, her voice cracking. Dad, please, please let me talk to her. I love her. I didn't mean I didn't know, Dad, please. Dad didn't yell. He didn't curse. He didn't push her away. He simply shook his head. You made your choices, Emma. She started crying harder. Dad, I'm sorry, I'm really sorry. He sighed. You're not sorry for what you did. You're sorry you lost. Emma froze like someone had slapped her. Now go home, Dad said firmly. Your sister doesn't owe you anything anymore. And then he closed the door in her face. I sank onto the couch, trembling with a mixture of relief and guilt and heartbreak. Mom wrapped an arm around me. You did the right thing, she whispered. Even so, I couldn't stop hearing Emma's muffled crying outside. The sound haunted the walls. It wasn't satisfaction I felt. It wasn't victory. It was mourning. Not for the wedding. For the sister I thought I had. Later that night, Daniel tried again. He came to the house. Knocked. Waited. I stayed in my room. Dad opened the door, stepped outside and closed it behind him. I couldn't hear everything, but I heard enough. Sir, please, I just want to talk to her. No, I made a mistake. You made a choice. Please, sir, I love her. You love whoever gives you attention. A pause. Then Dad said something that made my throat tighten. My daughter deserves someone honest, someone loyal, someone who doesn't destroy her. Silence followed. Then Dad came back inside without another word. The next morning felt different. The heaviness was still there, but something inside me had shifted slightly but noticeably. Strength. Or maybe clarity. I went outside to sit on the porch. The air was cold and quiet. My phone buzzed with a new message. Not from Daniel. Not from Emma. From his ex again. I'm here if you need someone to talk to. I typed back, thank you, really. Then another message came from her. It gets better, I promise. For the first time since everything happened, I believed it might. But just as I set my phone down, another notification popped up. Unknown number. I opened it. A single sentence. You should know the truth about Daniel. He didn't just cheat. He lied about something else too, something big. My heart jolted. What truth? I typed. The reply came within seconds. Check his email. There's something he's been hiding from you. My skin prickled. And then, hurry before he deletes it. A quiet panic spread through me. I didn't know what was waiting for me there. But I knew one thing. Whatever I thought I knew about Daniel was about to change again. My fingers trembled around the phone as I reread the message. Check his email. Something big. Something he might delete. I shouldn't have wanted to know more. I should have let it end where it ended. But curiosity and dread wrapped around me like a fist closing around my throat. I still had Daniel's old login saved on my laptop, a leftover from when we used to order things together or plan trips. I never bothered removing it. Why would I? I trusted him. The irony strung as I typed in his password. The inbox loaded slowly. Like it knew something I didn't. Like it was preparing me. The first thing I noticed wasn't a new message. It was a folder I'd never seen before. Archived 142 emails. My breath caught. I clicked it. The screen flooded with message after message, all with the same sender name. A woman. Different from the ex who had contacted me. And every subject line felt like a punch to my stomach. Please respond. You promised you'd help. Did you forget? Daniel, please, I'm scared. Why are you ignoring me? My hands felt ice cold as I clicked the oldest one. Daniel, I'm late, I think it might be yours. The breath left my body in one harsh exhale. Late. Pregnant. Yours. The next email was even worse. You said you would be there for me. I'm terrified. I can't do this alone. I clicked another. If you block me again, I swear I will show up at your job. I deserve answers. And another. I thought you cared. I thought I mattered. Why won't you talk to me? An invisible knife twisted deeper with each line. Dates. The dates were from a year ago. Exactly around the time Daniel and I started planning our wedding. I clicked the next message. You lied to me, you lied about everything. If you don't talk to me by tomorrow, I'll contact the woman you're with. She deserves to know. My heart slammed against my ribs. She meant me. She was going to tell me. But she never did. Because the next email was the last. It hit me like a truck. Daniel, I lost the baby. You don't have to worry about me anymore. I won't bother you again. I covered my mouth with my hand, a quiet cry escaping before I could stop it. A baby. Another woman. Lies. A cover-up. This wasn't a mistake. This was a pattern. This was who he was. He wasn't just cheating. He was destroying people and walking away without looking back. Someone had cried over him, begged him, trusted him, lost something precious because of him, and he buried it like it didn't matter. I scrolled down slowly in a trance until I found something that made my skin crawl. A reply from Daniel. Just one. Stop emailing me. This isn't my responsibility. Don't contact her. Ever. It'll ruin everything. Her name was blurred from view in another message. But I didn't need it. He was talking about me. He didn't want her to contact me because I'd cancel the wedding. He didn't want me to know he'd gotten someone else pregnant. He didn't want me to see the monster hiding behind the sweet face he showed the world. Every part of me felt sick. My stomach churned. My head spun. My eyes blurred with tears that wouldn't stop. I shut the laptop slowly, as if closing it would erase what I'd seen. Mom walked into the room just then, concern written across her face. Mia, what's wrong? I couldn't speak. I didn't know where to begin. She gently sat beside me. Tell me, whatever it is, tell me. I wiped my face, but the tears kept falling. He got someone else pregnant, I whispered. Before Emma, before everything. Mom inhaled sharply, her eyes widening, hand flying to her chest. Oh God, oh God. I nodded weakly. He hid it, he begged her not to tell me. He told her she would ruin his life. Mom wrapped her arms around me, rocking me gently like I was a child again. He's not a man, she whispered. He's a coward wearing a man's face. Her voice was shaking with anger and heartbreak for me. You deserve better than this, better than all of this. The next day, Emma came again. Not crying this time. Not screaming. Not begging. Her face was pale. Her makeup smudged. Her shoulders trembling. Mia, she whispered through the closed door, we need to talk. Dad stood behind me. He didn't open the door. Go home, Emma, he said coldly. No, her voice cracked. I need to apologize properly. I didn't move. I didn't answer. She kept talking. I didn't know, she whispered. Daniel told me you treated him badly. He told me you were drifting apart. He told me you didn't want him anymore. Each sentence struck like a stone. He lied to me too, Mia, she said, voice trembling. He said he loved me. He said you two were basically over. He said he'd choose me, he said. Her voice broke. He said I was special. My blood ran cold. Of course he did. That's what Daniel did. He made every woman feel like the exception, while treating them like they were disposable. Emma whispered again. When he told me about the baby, I thought it meant he was serious about me, about us. My heart twisted in a way I didn't expect. Baby, Dad snapped. What baby? Emma made a small sound. You didn't know. She sounded terrified now. Mom appeared behind us, her face hard. That girl emailed Mia, she said. We know everything. A long silence. Then Emma whispered so softly it felt like a ghost speaking. Oh God. So he lied to me too. For the first time I heard genuine pain in her voice. Not guilt, not jealousy, just heartbreak. Dad opened the door a few inches. Emma stood there, hugging her arms around her body, looking small, broken. I didn't mean to ruin your life, she whispered. I thought he loved me, I thought he chose me, I thought you had everything and I had nothing. Her voice cracked. I was wrong. About everything. I searched her face. The sister who smirked in Daniel's bed yesterday wasn't standing in front of me today. This one looked like someone who finally woke up from a dream and realized it was a nightmare. But I was done being fooled. You didn't ruin my life, I said quietly. You exposed his and yours. Emma shook her head, tears spilling down her cheeks. I'm so sorry, Mia. I know you'll never forgive me. I don't deserve it. But I needed you to know I'm not pregnant. I lied. I just wanted him to stay with me. Dad looked like he could explode. Mom looked like she wanted to collapse. I exhaled. Of course she lied about that too. Emma wiped her face, trembling. He told me today that he doesn't want me, that he never wanted me, that he only used me because I was convenient. Convenient. A word like a knife. He broke me too, she whispered. You were right to walk away. I stared at her for a long moment. I didn't feel anger. I didn't feel satisfaction. I didn't feel pity. I just felt done. Completely done. I hope you find yourself someday, I said softly, but that journey won't include me. Emma cried harder. But she nodded. She didn't argue. She didn't beg. She just whispered, "Goodbye, Mia," and left. I never saw Daniel again. He never came back after that last attempt. Maybe he sensed the truth had finally swallowed him whole. A week later, I received one final message from his number. Not an apology. Not an explanation. Just 4 words. I made a mistake. I didn't reply. Because losing someone like him wasn't a mistake. It was freedom. The pain didn't disappear overnight. Betrayal leaves bruises that don't fade quickly. But each day I felt a little stronger, a little lighter, a little more like someone rebuilding a life worth living. And for the first time in my entire life, something beautiful happened. I didn't feel like my sister's shadow anymore. I felt like myself, whole, healing, and finally free. I remember waking up the next morning and feeling something strange. Silence. Not the heavy silence that pressed on my chest after the breakup. Not the painful silence that followed betrayal. Not the suffocating silence of crying quietly in bed. This one felt open. Like the first breath after being underwater too long. I sat up slowly, letting the morning light touch my face. For the first time in weeks, my heart didn't feel like it was wrapped in barbed wire. It still hurt, yes. But the hurt didn't own me anymore. Mom was already in the kitchen when I went downstairs. She looked up, surprised to see me awake early. "Morning, sweetheart," she said softly. I poured myself a cup of coffee and sat down across from her. For a minute we just looked at each other. Then Mom reached across the table and took my hand. "How do you feel today?" I exhaled. "Like I'm breathing again." Her eyes softened with relief. "That's good, that's really good." Dad came down a few minutes later, pretending to read the newspaper when really he was watching me from behind it. He finally cleared his throat. "Mia, I'm proud of you." My eyes strung. "Why?" "Because you didn't let them break you. You didn't let anger turn you into someone else. You stood your ground and you walked away." I swallowed the lump in my throat. "Dad, it still hurts." "I know," he whispered, "but pain fades, character doesn't." I smiled faintly, for the first time in what felt like years. Later that day I cleaned my room, really cleaned it. Not because I needed to, but because it felt like clearing out the pieces of a life I no longer wanted to carry. Old photos of me and Daniel went into a box. Wedding invitations went into the trash. The ring. I held the ring for a long moment. It was beautiful. It once meant something. But now it felt like a shackle. I placed it gently back into its velvet box and put it in the drawer. Not out of nostalgia. Out of closure. I wasn't ready to sell it. But I was done wearing the weight of it. My phone buzzed once, a message from his ex again. "Just checking in, how are you?" I replied honestly. "Better today." "That's good," she wrote. "Healing comes in waves, you deserve peace." I stared at her message for a moment. It was strange, finding comfort in the words of someone who had been hurt by the same man in a different lifetime. Pain connected people in ways trust never could. Weeks passed. Slowly, gently. Every day, something shifted inside me. I went back to work. My colleagues treated me with quiet kindness. I started sleeping better. Started eating normally again. Started laughing at small things. One evening, I sat outside on the porch watching the sunset. Mom brought out 2 cups of tea and sat beside me. After a moment she said, "Emma moved out of state." I didn't flinch. I didn't feel anything sharp. Just a calm acceptance. "Okay." Mom looked at me sideways. "Does it bother you?" "No," I said honestly. "I hope she finds herself somewhere far away from where she broke me." Mom nodded slowly. "Maybe distance is what she needs." "Maybe," I said softly. "And maybe it's what I needed too." Quiet settled over us, warm and familiar. A few days later, I received a long message from Emma. I hesitated before opening it, but curiosity won. "Mia, I know I have no right to speak to you. I know I am the last person you want to hear from, but I need to say this before I leave the state. I am sorry. Not sorry that I lost Daniel. Not sorry that things didn't work out for me. I'm sorry that I hurt you. I'm sorry I didn't see you. I'm sorry I kept taking from you because I thought I needed to win something. I was always jealous of you. Not because of what you had, but because you were everything I was. Stable, kind, strong, loved. I chased after attention because I didn't know how to be okay on my own. Daniel didn't love me. He used me to escape the responsibility of loving you the way you deserved. You may never forgive me. I don't deserve it. But I hope someday you remember I am your sister. Even if I failed you as one." I read it twice. Then a third time. The words didn't undo the pain. They didn't magically fix anything. But they felt honest. And honesty from Emma was rare. I wrote back only one sentence. "I hope you grow." She replied with a heart and nothing else. Months passed. Little by little, the sharp pain turned into a dull memory. And the dull memory turned into something softer, something easier to carry. I began journaling, volunteering at a local shelter, running in the mornings, reading again. I was rebuilding myself slowly, but this time I wasn't building myself around another person's presence. I was building myself around my own. One afternoon, while sipping coffee at a cafe after work, I overheard two women talking at the next table. One said, "Can you believe she cancelled her wedding the day before? Imagine being that strong." Her friend shook her head. "That's not strength, that's survival." They had no idea they were talking about me. But hearing it, I smiled to myself. Because both of them were right. I survived something that should have destroyed me. And surviving made me strong. Then something unexpected happened. A stranger approached my table, a guy around my age, with dark hair and soft eyes. "Excuse me," he said awkwardly, "you left your notebook on the counter." I looked at the notebook in his hands, mine, covered in doodles and scribbles. I hadn't even realized it was missing. "Oh, thank you," I said, taking it from him. He smiled hesitantly. "No problem, I noticed you've been here a few times. Do you live nearby?" I nodded. "Yeah, just a few blocks down." He nodded too, chuckling nervously. "Cool, I'm Lucas, by the way." I didn't flirt back. I didn't blush. I didn't feel butterflies. But for the first time in a long while, I didn't feel fear either. We talked for a few minutes, small talk, nothing serious, and then he left with a gentle smile. As I watched him walk out, I realized something. I wasn't ready for love. Not yet. But I wasn't scared of it anymore either. And that was enough. That night I sat in my room, looking at the reflection of a woman I barely recognized, not because she was broken, but because she had finally healed. And as I lay down to sleep, my last thought was simple. I didn't lose anything on my wedding day. I escaped something. And sometimes survival is the closest thing to a happy ending. Months passed, and life settled into a quiet rhythm I didn't know I needed. Work, home, small joys, peaceful mornings. It wasn't exciting. It wasn't dramatic. But it was mine. And after everything I'd lived through, mine felt like a luxury. One evening I stood on my porch as the sun dipped low, painting the sky in soft pinks and fading gold. The kind of sunset that makes you forget how much the world ever hurt you. For the first time in a long time, I didn't feel the weight of the past pressing behind my ribs. Just a calm, steady breath. My phone buzzed lightly in my pocket. A text from a coworker reminding me about our morning shift. Another from Mom asking if I wanted dinner tomorrow. Small things, normal things. And then, surprisingly, a message from Lucas. "Hey, no pressure, but the cafe is having a small poetry night tonight. Thought you might like it." I stared at the message for a long moment. Not with dread. Not with panic. With something unfamiliar. Curiosity. I typed slowly. "Poetry night, I didn't know they had that." He replied almost instantly. "They do sometimes, it's pretty chill, you don't have to stay long, just thought you'd enjoy the atmosphere." He wasn't flirting aggressively. Wasn't pushing. Just opening a door and waiting. I thought it over. The old me, the me before everything, would have gone immediately, excited and hopeful. The version of me right after the heartbreak wouldn't even consider it. But the me now. I took a breath. And typed, "I'll drop by." At the cafe, soft lights glowed warmly across the room. People sat in small circles, reading poems, laughing gently, sipping tea. It felt safe. Lucas waved from the corner, smiling shyly. "You came," he said, surprised in a genuine, soft way. "I did. We talked. Not about trauma. Not about heartbreak. Not about my past. Just about books he liked. A playlist I'd been listening to. A stray cat that wandered behind the cafe sometimes. It wasn't a date. It wasn't pressure. It wasn't anything heavy. Just two people sharing a quiet evening. When the event ended and I stood to leave, he didn't ask for more. Didn't push for a next time. He just said, "I'm really glad you came." And for the first time in a year, I felt a warm flutter in my chest. Not butterflies, but something gentler. Hope. On the way home, the night air felt different. Soft, kind, forgiving. I realized I wasn't walking toward a future defined by betrayal anymore. I was walking toward something new. Something untouched. The next morning, I woke up early and found a message from Emma. A single photo. She was standing in a new apartment. Small, berries, but neat, calm. And her message said, "I'm starting over." I stared at it for a minute, not knowing what I felt. Not joy. Not anger. Just a quiet acceptance. I typed back one simple reply. Good. A few minutes later, she responded. "I hope you're happy, Mia, truly." I didn't reply. Her happiness was her path to find, not mine to carry. Weeks passed. Lucas and I saw each other at the cafe again, then at the farmer's market, then at a bookstore where he recommended a novel I ended up loving. But still no labels. No rush. No pressure. He treated me like a person. Not a possession. Not an obligation. Not a shadow of my past. And slowly, something began to bloom inside me, a feeling I hadn't allowed myself to imagine for a long time. Peace. One evening, as we walked out of the cafe together, he glanced at me with a quiet smile. "You know," he said softly, "you look lighter than when I first met you." I laughed under my breath. "Lighter?" "Yeah," he said, hands in his pockets. "Like you're carrying less pain." For a moment, I didn't know how to respond. No one had ever noticed that in me. No one had ever looked closely enough to see it. "Maybe I am," I finally whispered. He nodded and his smile softened. "I'm glad." That night, lying in bed, I stared at the ceiling thinking about all the versions of me I had been. The one who trusted too easily. The one who broke too deeply. The one who healed slowly. The one who walked away bravely. And now, this one. The one who could see a future again. A message popped onto my screen from Lucas. "Good night, Mia." I stared at it for a moment, then typed, "Good night, Lucas." I set my phone down and closed my eyes, feeling a warmth I hadn't felt in so long. Not love, not yet. But something even more valuable. Safety. I didn't know where life would lead next. I didn't know if Lucas and I would become something, or simply remain two kind souls crossing paths. But I knew this much. I would never again beg someone to love me. Never again shrink myself for anyone. Never again feel like a consolation prize, a backup option, a shadow of someone else. I wasn't broken anymore. I wasn't angry. I wasn't lost. I was free. And for the first time since the day I walked in on my fiancé and my sister, I believed something beautiful. The best parts of my life haven't happened yet. A year later, I found myself standing in front of a mirror on a quiet Sunday morning, brushing my hair before heading out. I barely recognized the woman looking back at me. Not because I'd changed physically, but because I'd changed inwardly in ways no one could see unless they really knew me. There was peace behind my eyes now, a softness in my shoulders, a steadiness in my breath. My phone buzzed on the dresser. A message from Mom. "Lunch at 2, I'm making your favorite." Another from Dad. "Don't forget to bring the garden shears back." And one from Lucas. "No rush, but if you're free later, we could stop by the new bookstore downtown. They have a poetry section I think you'd love." I smiled without even realizing it. Life wasn't dramatic anymore. It wasn't chaotic. It wasn't loud. It was gentle. And that was all I ever needed. I grabbed my keys and headed outside. The air smelled like spring, fresh petals, warm sun, new beginnings. As I pulled into my parents' driveway for lunch, Mom came rushing out the door, waving her arms. "Mia, look who's here." I stepped out of the car and froze. Emma stood beside her, holding a small plant in a ceramic pot. My chest tightened for a moment. She looked different. Different in a way that didn't come from makeup or clothes. Different in a way that came from being humbled by life. Her smile was small, unsure. "Hey," she said quietly. I tucked a strand of my hair behind my ear. "Hi." She held out the plant with careful hands. "It's jasmine," she said. "You used to love the smell. I saw it at the market and thought of you." For a second, neither of us moved. Then I reached out and took the plant. "Thank you." We went inside. Lunch was simple, warm, easy, and for the first time in a long time, there wasn't a crackle of tension under the surface. After eating, Emma pulled me aside on the backyard porch. "I'm in therapy now," she said softly. "And I'm trying to become a better version of myself." "That's good," I said. She nodded, biting the inside of her cheek. "I don't expect forgiveness, I don't expect anything from you actually, but I want you to know I'm learning, I'm growing, I'm doing the work." I looked at her, really looked at her. And for the first time in years, I saw not the sister who betrayed me, but the sister who was trying, fighting her flaws, facing her damage, building herself from the ground up. "That matters," I said honestly. She exhaled shakily, relief flickering across her face. "We didn't hug. We didn't cry. We didn't force anything. We just existed side by side, fragile but real." Later that evening, I met Lucas outside the new bookstore. He waved, holding 2 iced coffees. "I guessed your order," he said. "You guessed right," I replied, taking the cup. We wandered inside. Shelves lined with poetry, novels, handwritten bookmarks. A soft peacefulness settled between us. He handed me a book. "I thought you might like this one. It's about healing after heartbreak." I raised a brow. "Are you trying to tell me something?" He smiled. "Just that I've watched you grow, and I'm proud of you." My cheeks warmed unexpectedly. After a while, we walked outside and sat on a bench under a tree. The sun was setting in streaks of orange and lavender. Lucas glanced at me with a thoughtful expression. "You know I don't need an answer now, or ever, but I want to tell you something." I looked at him carefully. "I like you, Mia," he said softly. "Not because of your past. Not because you're healing. Not because you've been hurt." He paused. "But because you're strong, and real and kind, and I feel lucky just knowing you." My heart fluttered, slowly, gently, naturally. I didn't say anything right away. I let the moment breathe. Then I said, "I like you too." He didn't rush closer. He didn't take my hand. He just smiled. A soft, respectful, patient smile. Exactly the kind I never knew I needed. We sat there together until the sky turned dark. When I got home later, I placed the jasmine plant on my bedside table. Its scent filled the room, sweet, calming, familiar. I sat on the edge of my bed, letting the day settle into my bones. And then, for the first time since the day everything broke, I whispered something out loud to myself. I made it. Not perfectly. Not quickly. Not easily. But I made it. I survived heartbreak. I survived betrayal. I survived losing everything I thought my life would be. And in the process, I found something better. A new path. A new peace. A new me. Maybe life didn't give me the story I wanted, but it gave me the strength to rewrite it. And sometimes that is the greatest ending of all. The jasmine plant glowed softly in the dim light of my room, its scent threading through the quiet air. I lay back on my bed, staring at the ceiling, letting the hum of the nighttime settle around me. For a long time, I thought healing would feel like fireworks, like some dramatic moment where everything snapped into place. But it wasn't like that at all. It was slow, peaceful, almost unnoticed, like realizing one day that the wound doesn't ache anymore. I got up and walked to the window. Outside, the street was calm, the same street where I'd once cried in my car, the same street where Emma had screamed my name, the same street where Daniel had shown up begging for a conversation I never gave him. Now it was just a street. Nothing more. Nothing less. My phone buzzed on the table. A message from Lucas. Made it home, just making sure you're safe. I smiled. I typed back. Yes, and thank you. He sent back a simple, good, sleep well. His care wasn't loud. It wasn't overwhelming. It wasn't possessive. It was gentle, respectful, steady. I didn't feel that dizzy, reckless rush I once confused with love. I felt something better, something real. I closed the curtains and turned off the lights, but the jasmine scent lingered, soft and full. Lying in the dark, thoughts drifted through me quietly. Not the ones that used to haunt me. The replaying, the doubting, the what-ifs. Those were gone. Now there was clarity. Perspective. I remembered the girl I had been the day before my wedding. The one who believed her life was set. Planned. Safe. I remembered the girl who walked into that apartment and saw her world crumble in one heartbeat. I remembered the girl who sat outside in her car shaking, thinking it was the end of everything. And I wished I could go back and hold her hand. Tell her, one day you'll thank life for breaking you here. Because everything waiting on the other side is better. All the pieces that once felt scattered were forming something stronger now. Something rooted. Something that belonged to me. The next morning, sunlight spilled across my room, warm and quiet. I picked up the jasmine plant and carried it to the window so it could meet the day too. As I set it down, a soft thought crossed my mind, a truth that had grown slowly inside me. Forgiveness wasn't about letting people back in. It was about letting yourself move forward without them. Emma might grow. Daniel might disappear into whatever life he chose next. But I was building a future that no one could take from me again. Later that afternoon, I met Mom and Dad for coffee. They seemed lighter too, like seeing me heal allowed them to heal with me. Dad squeezed my shoulder. You look happy, he said. I nodded. I am. Mom smiled softly. You deserve it. Just then my phone buzzed. A message from an unknown number. For a moment my breath hitched, a reflex from the ghosts of the past. But when I opened it, I felt nothing but calm. It was Daniel. Mir, I hope you're doing okay. I'm sorry for everything. No anger stirred in me. No pains. No longing. Just a distant neutrality, like reading a note from a stranger. I typed one sentence. I hope you learn from it. And then I blocked the number. Not out of spite. Out of closure. That evening I met Lucas at the local park. We walked without hurry, without expectation. The sky above us glowed with twilight, soft and deep. As we sat on a bench overlooking the lake, he glanced at me gently. You seem different today, he said. Do I? He nodded. In a good way. Like you're finally living for yourself. I looked at the water, at the ripples catching the last light of the day. I think I am. He didn't reply with some grand confession or dramatic gesture. He simply sat beside me, a comforting presence letting the moment be enough. And it was. As the sun dipped lower, the world around us grew still. The air cooled. The sky shifted into a soft shade of blue. I closed my eyes for a moment and breathed deeply. Healing. Growing. Becoming. Life didn't return to what it used to be. It became something better. Because sometimes the world has to break you open before it shows you who you're meant to become. Not the version people expect. Not the version shaped by someone else's shadow. But the version that finally belongs to you. And as I sat there letting the night wrap gently around me, I realized something simple, something honest, something true. The hardest heartbreak of my life led me to the best version of myself. And that was worth everything. A year and a half after everything happened, I found myself standing on a small hill overlooking the city. The wind was gentle. The sky was clear. The world felt new. Below me, the streets moved with their ordinary rhythm, people living their lives, unaware of the storms anyone else has survived. And for once, that thought didn't make me feel alone. It made me feel connected. Everyone has their story. Everyone has their breaking point. Everyone has their beginning again. My phone buzzed softly. A message from Lucas. No rush, but I'm outside whenever you're ready. I looked down the hill. He stood by his car, hands in his pockets, smiling up at me like I was the best part of his day. Not a savior. Not a rescuer. Not a replacement. Just someone who cared. I walked down to him slowly, feeling the grass bend beneath my steps, feeling the weight of the past fall away one last time. He opened the passenger door for me with that simple, effortless kindness he always showed. "You okay?" he asked gently. I nodded. "I'm good." He studied my face for a second, then smiled. "You look good." "Thank you," I said softly. We drove with the windows open, wind brushing against my hair, sunlight warming the dashboard. No music. No noise. Just quiet peace. When we reached the cafe, he parked and turned to me. "You know, whatever pace you need, whatever path you want, I'll walk it with you, but only if you want that too." I looked at him, really looked at him. The warmth in his eyes. The patience in his smile. The softness in his voice. The steadiness I once begged life to give me. "I want that," I said. He didn't kiss me immediately. He didn't pull me close. He just took my hand gently, giving me space to choose. I let my fingers intertwine with his. And for the first time since my world shattered, I didn't feel afraid to hold on. Later that evening, when I returned home, I placed the jasmine plant on my desk. It had grown, new leaves, new branches, new life. Just like me. I sat beside it, watching the soft glow of the lamp reflect on its petals, and whispered a quiet goodbye to the version of me who once cried in this room. She had survived more than she ever should have. And she brought me here to this new, gentle chapter. I stood, walked to the window, and opened it. The night air drifted inside, cool and full. And then it happened, the moment I didn't expect, the moment that closed the last door inside me. I forgave them. Not because they deserved forgiveness. Not because what they did wasn't cruel. Not because I ever wanted them back in my life. I forgave them because I deserved peace. I forgave them because I wanted to live forward. I forgave them because the past no longer owned me. I whispered into the quiet air. It's over. Not with sadness. Not with anger. With release. The final thread that tied me to that pain fell away. I closed the window gently. And with that, my story finally ended where it always should have. Not with a wedding. Not with a betrayal. Not with a heartbreak. But with me. Choosing myself. Choosing peace. Choosing a future I built with my own hands. Because sometimes life doesn't give you the love story you expected. It gives you the strength to write a better one. And this time, it begins with me.